Extra time.
Hello and welcome back to the Extra Time podcast. We weren't here last week, but fear not, we have returned. I'm joined this time by Chris Hamill and Dougie Critchley. Chris, good to be back on the Extra Time pod.
I'm absolutely overjoyed, mate. Overwhelmed.
Good.
I was up all night last night watching Last Chance U. Couldn't get to sleep, and I was literally watching it engrossed until about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've just been to see a personal trainer for the first time ever at the gym, and he's destroyed my pathetic little body. So I'm all out at sea right now. I'm all out at sea. So I'm hoping, I'm placing a lot of trust in you right now. I'm feeling pretty vulnerable.
Really? Well, I can't polish a turd in your case, Chris. So a bit of a lost cause, I imagine.
Yeah, lovely to be back, Henry.
Good to see you.
Giving up my day.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Chris. Well, Dougie, my regular friends at Football Daily. We were saying earlier, now like Wimbledon, now Wimbledon's on. There's literally almost too much sport to watch. I don't know how you're focusing during work.
Oh, it's relentless as well. We've got the Lions series, which is going to kick off. We've got the Olympics in August. We've got the finals of the Euros. Obviously, it's just getting hotting up in all across the world of sports. So, yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. What a time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Before we get into the podcast proper, just to say this episode is sponsored by Fanteam. So we've been playing along in their competition. It's like a fantasy football team competition. We put together our squads. You can still enter into their daily games. We'll get into that later. But there is £1 million competition which us three are involved in. Chris, how is your team doing at the moment? I imagine anything will be better than my team so far.
Listen, my good picks have done well, but that's not saying much because I think a lot of people would have had the likes of Romelu Lukaku down as a potential Golden Boot winner. I also made him my captain, so I was pretty chuffed with that. But unlike Dougie, I did not take advantage of the wild card after the group stage entry because my timekeeping is poor. And I've had to make, prior to this episode, wholesale changes, let's say. About 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I mean, I still had Yilmaz on the bench. Gareth Bale was still in my midfield. Memphis Depay also in my midfield. Pretty smug that I got him as a midfielder to start with. And then, of course, the Netherlands were pathetic against the Czechs. So there we have it. I've bought in some players that I'm fairly happy with. I've gone quite heavy on Denmark's players because I think they're going to edge the Czech Republic. I've bought Mailer in. I've bought Dolberg in. Christensen at centre half. So, yeah, heavily dependent on Denmark doing well to see me climb the leaderboard.
Nice. Dougie, how about you? How's your team getting on?
Oh, well, Chris says, I played that wild card quite wisely, but it's really backfired, actually, because I backed the wrong horses, guys. It's gone really badly. I brought in Denzel Dumfries. I brought in Memphis Depay. I made Cristiano Ronaldo my captain. All out. Gareth Bale also out as well. So I'm pretty much waiting for my game week to be saved by Victor Lindelof, Emil Forsberg or Kylian Mbappe. And I've got Gosens, actually, who could do a job against England tomorrow. or yesterday when you listen to this on YouTube at least. There's been a real mixed bag. Some of my bench are doing quite well though. Bachmann for Austria got a lot of he got 7 points for a lot of saves against Italy, and Mailer as well, the Danish left back, grabbed a goal against Wales as well. So hopefully they'll come in to boost me, but it's not been too pretty so far on my Fanteam team.
Have you checked out your best ranking yet?
No, I haven't. I know I'm on 148 total points.
Interesting, because my best ranking, I've somehow earned £10 profit. My total points 225 actually.
I'm getting thrashed.
I'm 10,000th out of 35,115. So
I think that's pretty solid.
The fact there's 25,000 people worse off than me, yeah, I am buoyed by, but they must have been neglecting their teams big time. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a glowing example of that. I think I'm 31,000th.
That is awful.
That is terrible, Henry.
You should be stripped of presenting this podcast for that effort. Shocking.
I think if it wasn't for Donnarumma and Lukaku, I'm pretty sure I'd be rock bottom as well. But Simon Kjær has been bringing home some points as well. But yeah, it's not been great. But listen, at home, if you're thinking, why would I make a team now to get involved? There are the daily games which you can play along with as well. It's £9 to enter, and essentially, so I've entered the Spain versus versus Croatia game, and you pick 5 players for your team, and it's kind of done on expected points. So if you've picked a really obvious player who's expected to bring you loads of points, the differential is a bit different. So you're meant to like find the niche players that could push forward your team. I've gone for Unai Simon, Jordi Alba, which is a bit of an obvious choice, along with Modric. But I've also backed Morata up front. I reckon this is the game Morata's going to come good in.
You love Morata.
I just sort of like. He's just. I'm hopeful that he's going to come good at some point. He's a bit like England's football dreams.
Like every other part to his game has been fine in this tournament. Like he's dropped off, he's linked well, like he's looks in very good shape, good stamina, and then bless him, just absolutely apple crumbles in front of goal. But I also, like you, I hope he comes good. Yeah, a lot of negative energy out there towards him. Can we start bullying Morata, please?
No, that's why I picked him for the team. I've backed him to score me goals today.
I know you have, and I'm on board.
Albeit he was a very cheap option as a result of certain conditions, but I'm backing Morata. So yeah, you can play along with the daily games as well. You've got to be 18 plus to play along. Terms and conditions do apply, and there will be a link in the description below. But Fanteam, thank you so much for sponsoring us again. All right, let's crack on with the rest of the episode. We thought we'd do something a little bit different today because we were a little bit inspired by the Cristiano Ronaldo achievement of matching Ali Daei's international record. And of 109 goals, which is frankly ridiculous. I'm gutted that we won't see him break it at this tournament. I love Ali Daei. He spoke to Euronews and he said he had a good feeling about Ronaldo. He was glad his record could be broken by a player who was a true champion on the field and an all-out gentleman off the playing field. I mean, what a nice man to concede his title in such a way. But yeah, I thought we could have a look at some of the kind of other wild football records, trivia and stats out there, because there are some like unbelievable numbers and statistics. So this is going to be a bit of a different episode. There's going to be a quiz running through it. We're going to pit Dougie and Chris's knowledge against each other. I've seen there's been a call for the football pyramid back. So, maybe this will be like a little warm-up into that at some point. But
pre-season for football pyramid. I love it.
Exactly what this is. Dougie, just quickly though, that Portugal game, we're filming this a day afterwards. Are you gutted to see Portugal not going through, more for like that record, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I predicted on Continental Club Portugal to win 2-1, and you guys both backed Belgium. And once again, I'm in the mud. I thought Portugal played pretty well, to be fair, except for a pretty dysfunctional sort of final 10-15 minutes when Fernando Santos just kept on putting on every single attacker and had Bruno pretty much as his deepest midfielder at points, which was quite bizarre. But there was a lot of fuss made about João Felix's performances afterwards. I think Roy Keane was pretty scathing in the studio. I thought that was pretty undeserved, really. I thought João Felix was absolutely fine. I thought Portugal's weakest player on the night was probably Diogo Jota once again. Just a highly forgettable tournament for the Liverpool man. Ronaldo was trying his best. He created a great chance for Jota in that second half. He was taking all sorts of free kicks from all sorts of rogue angles, which was probably not the best idea. He's got such a bad record from free kicks. He probably should have just given Bruno a go, or maybe tried to cross once or twice just to catch them out. But anyway, yeah, I am gutted that he didn't manage to get the record in this tournament, because he was really performing so well in that group stage as well, although quite a few penalties involved in that as well. But this just will 100% not be the end of Ronaldo at the Euros. I still think he'll be here in 4 years' time. He keeps his body in such remarkable shape that I think he could go on to his early 40s. And Portugal, as long as he's available, I think we'll pick him as well. Because how can you doubt someone with 109 goals in 179 games? So this is not the end of CR7.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's so true, though. I mean, Chris, do you agree? Because I think before the tournament, there was a lot of like, Ronaldo, is he getting phased out? Is Jota coming through as the kind of time for the next generation? But he's just shown once again, like, he is the spearhead of that side. Unequivocally, no one's touching him almost. I mean, where do you see him going from here in terms of his involvement with the international side?
Imagine being 25-year-old Andre Silva at the peak of your powers. Just come off an unbelievable season with Eintracht Frankfurt, 33 goal involvements in 32 starts. And yeah, you have this medical marvel, this 36-year-old starting every game in front of you, and almost justifiably, given his performances in this tournament. Yeah, I think his link-up play has been fine. Like, he's looked fit, he's looked fast still. His game management has looked good, like as in when to press, when not to press, when to drop deep, etc. Yeah, he's been good, and I actually think Portugal were far more deserving of a result yesterday. I thought Belgium were a complete mess, like as haphazard as Fernando Santos' substitutions were at the end of the game, and he was just throwing on more and more forwards and seemingly asking them to do exactly the same thing in crossing the ball from deep or crossing the ball first time. There was just a real lack of patient, probing build-up play, wasn't there? And that's pretty startling considering the players they have. I really thought I tweeted prior to the game that Jota and Bernardo Silva would have a lot of joy, in that like hugging the touchline on the left and right hand side, because Belgium throughout the whole tournament have left huge spaces between fullback and centre half, and Vertonghen has struggled badly throughout. But yeah, the XG was in Portugal's favour. I think they passed the eye test as well. Like Belgium have just rode their luck this tournament, and I feel like if they got slapped by one of the big nations, it'd be thoroughly deserved, and they've had it coming to them. But I think you were talking about Portugal's future, right? Like they're blessed with some very good forward options, aren't they? And I agree with Dougie. Like I didn't really get that João Felix was a news story afterwards. Yeah, hopefully Andre Silva gets a few more starts, and I think the future in safe hands with him if he continues. At least if he replicates anywhere near the form he's had for Eintracht Frankfurt at international level.
Well, there are those rumours he's going to Arsenal now, so whether or not that's the right direction for his
career. Well, that's him ruined then. Yeah.
There we go. All right, well, listen, we'll kick off with the first question then. So, since Ronaldo turned 31, okay, how many goals do you think he scored in the last 5 years alone for his country? It's insane. So we'll go for the closest answer wins. Dougie, how many goals do you think Ronaldo scored since he turned 31 for his country?
Oh, I'm trying to work out how many games that would be. I reckon it's you probably play 6 to 10 games on average per year. I reckon he's scored an extra 40 goals.
40. Chris, what are you going for?
I think that's a good first stab in the dark. I know that I'm miles away from the microphone there. Enjoy that, Mike, editing that. I know this. I know that he's sort of the second half of his career. There's been a glut of goals, right? And in the first half, he was good, but not quite as prolific when he was playing on the wing or as a second striker. I mean, that just mirrors his club career, right? But the second half especially stupid. 31, sort of 5-6 years. I'm going to go with probably like a goal a game. I'm going to go with 48.
48. All right. Chris, you take that. He scored 58 goals in the last 5 years for his country.
Fair play.
Which is unreal, I think. All right, Chris, 1 point to you.
1-0.
Right, well, so obviously that is actually
58. Blimey.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
He's just been turning it on. It's on next level. If you think he scored 5 in this tournament alone, so yeah. And a lot of those goals have come against some like lower nations and stuff. I remember seeing a stat somewhere comparing him with Daei. At the end of the day, like Daei did score against some arguably easier teams, but Ronaldo, he's faced the likes of Andorra and etc. over his career.
Yeah.
He's like,
Liechtenstein.
Yeah, he scored a lot of goals. So yeah, all fair game there. But they don't actually have the. If we're looking at football as an entirety as a family, the record belongs for the most international goals belongs to Christine Sinclair. Now she is a 38-year-old striker for Canada. She's still captain and still represents.
She's still going, yeah.
Yeah, still going there. Unbelievable. 299 caps for Canada. I won't lie and say I know too much about her game there, but I mean, in the women's game, it is a lot easier to sort of play a lot longer. There's more international fixtures, but that's still. When you hear like the answer to this question, it is kind of crazy how many goals that she's managed to score. So how many goals do you think Sinclair has scored in this period for Canada? There's kind of a clue on the screen. Wow. But yeah, to give you some context, Abby Wambach, who's like a legendary American forward, she finished on 184, and she's not the top scorer in women's football. So
ridiculous.
Dougie, what do you reckon for that one?
I'm going first again. Okay, I see how it is. Okay, I reckon. I know.
I
actually
first
saw.
This time, Duke. You're right, because I sort of used you as a reference point last time, and I don't want to be accused of milking that. I reckon, yeah, because it's often treated like a almost like club level, isn't it, in North America, international football? Like it is played with such great frequency. I'm gonna go for 248. I'm sticking with 48. There's something about 48 today that's really tickling my pickle.
All right, Dougie?
I am thinking a bit lower. I'm going back 210.
210. Okay. The answer is 186. So it's only a couple more than Abby went back.
You've absolutely roped us in there.
So yeah, 248. Ambitious. You never know. She could get there. She could get there in the coming years.
Chris just had bigger belief in Christine.
Yeah, she did. He did. All right. Well, that's 1-1. So you're in there. All right. We'll move on. We'll go a bit on a world journey, it seems, with this one, because we're going to go to Rogerio Ceni, who's a Brazilian keeper. Chris, do you remember Ceni in goal? Because he's one of the most legendary goalies of all time when it comes to scoring. He's one of the famous guys that used to take free kicks, take all of the penalties for Sao Paulo.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Do you miss the goal-scoring goalkeeper? There's something beautiful about it, which I think the game's missing again.
Yeah, but it's never really been like part of the English game, has it? Like it's much more. If I was catching like a Copa Libertadores game at like 1 o'clock in the morning on some rogue, Star TV or something, as I grew up, like that was far more like common of a sight. But I can't really think of a European equivalent. Paul Robinson got 2 or 3 or whatever it was in the Premier League. I would actually go for. I weirdly think I might be quite close. I'm putting my neck on the line here because I had a fascination with Brazilian footballers growing up, and obviously Ceni is a fascinating character. Standalone, nation aside, I'm going to go for 115 goals. By the way.
Okay.
So yeah. You've not asked the question yet, but like that number just sprung to mind straight away, and I might have shot my bolt, but he was very, very prolific.
He played from 1992 to 2015, so a long time. We'll get onto that in a second as well. So yeah, he's at Sao Paulo exclusively, which is quite cool. Dougie, Chris has gone for 115 goals in that period. What do you reckon for that one?
So this is his total career goals, club and country, or just?
This is just for club goals.
Just club goals. I think that he might have done a Don Bradman. I think he finished on 99.
99.
That's just my guess.
No. 2 very specific guesses. I feel like he's a centurion, but you might. Okay, you've gone high 90s. Could edge me here.
Chris, are you sticking with your?
I am. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, it's 131 goals he scored.
Way off.
Which is more. I mean, it's just marginally less, I think, than what Ryan Giggs achieved in his whole career, and he plays as an attacking winger. But yeah, it's absolutely mental. I remember I was talking about this with our podcast with Pat, and Pat was saying the best thing about the goal-scoring keeper is like if they miss. It's one of the few times you see a keeper in full sprint. Yeah, a footballer in full sprint because they have to sort of peg it back to their goal.
Reminiscent
David Marshall style.
Of Joe Hart, when Joe Hart became the fastest man alive. Do you remember that clip when he
trying to get back to his goal?
He came up for a corner and it looked like he'd been superimposed onto the screen. Like someone had just picked him up, dragged him along, and like dropped him back off at the goal. It's unreal. But yeah,
that was a time when England were wearing very bold goalkeeper kits. I think he was always in yellow, wasn't he, Joe Hart? Yeah. So it just would have looked even funnier him zooming back.
But a lot of Ceni's goals were free kicks, weren't they? A disproportionate amount. Like he was so good at them. Yeah. Yeah, there needs to be more of that in the European game. It's far too sensible these days, yeah.
He's pretty amazing. He's got 2 world records to his name, the highest scoring goalkeeper, and also the most club appearances as a professional as well, which I didn't realise until I was researching this. Bear in mind, just for Sao Paulo, Dougie, we'll kick off with you. How many appearances do you think that he made in his career?
So you say he scored 131 goals?
Yes.
So I think he played 1,200 games.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to go with that.
All right. Chris, what do you think?
What, the record for the most club appearances? Is this for one club or just in total? Sorry,
no,
this is just for Sao Paulo.
This is just for Sao Paulo. This is across his whole career. He's played more games as a single professional than any other player.
I imagine Pele's claiming this record as well, isn't he?
Yes.
He'll have a go.
I'm going to go 1400.
1400s.
Because there's a lot. I mean, in Brazil, when they play the regional tournaments, the campeonatos, rather than like Serie A, B, C. Obviously, they've got the Libertadores, they've got the Europa League equivalent. Like those seasons can be huge, and traditionally they have like different squads for those competitions because they're not as lucrative. They almost have like 50 players on the roster. But maybe Ceni just insisted on playing in every competition.
Well, you say that. Dougie, the actual answer was 1,217. So you've come pretty close there.
Needed that.
No, it's 2-2 that makes it. So this is actually working out way better than I possibly could have dreamed. But yeah, I mean, what's quite cool is he's actually manager of Flamengo today. He's been quite successful with Fortaleza. He's also managed Sao Paulo. So Ceni clearly knows what he's on about. But yeah, Chris, you're right about Pele. He apparently played 1,375 games, but a lot of those were considered like junior games and exhibitions and stuff like that. It's the same kind of thing about his goal scoring traits as well. It depends what you sort of classify as the record and whatnot. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be some Brazilian fans watching claiming it was Pele, but settle for Ceni for now. All right, we'll move on to the highest attendance at a single game. Now this came in 1950. We're still in South America. This is the World Cup final between Uruguay versus Brazil, dubbed the Maracanazo, I believe.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was due to a
Sounds about right.
Yeah, due to a huge upset in that game. There.
Yeah, the goalkeeper Barbosa let the ball go through his legs, and as happens, with every Brazilian footballer that makes a big mistake, he died in destitution because he was just like couldn't forgive himself because they are just a ridiculous nation of fanatics, aren't they? So not a nice ending to that story. And yeah, R.I.P. Barbosa, but that is like a scar on their national psyche, isn't it? The Maracanã.
Yeah.
Or Canazo, yeah. Maracanazo.
173,850 tickets officially sold. But that's not the number we're going for. We're going for a bigger number than that apparently snuck into the stadium. I was having a look. The record for like a European Championship game, bear in mind it's a fairly new competition relative to the World Cup, but that's still about 78,000. So it's like a substantial difference that has changed over the years. Dougie, what do you reckon the official, the unofficial attendance to that game really was? The highest.
Did they get over 200 in? This is what I'm trying to think. I don't know. It feels like 195.
Okay.
1,000.
Chris, what are you going to go for?
I'm sticking with that, yeah.
I'm still thinking about Barbosa, mate, because I've just remembered that he was coined. I think it was the man that made the whole of Brazil cry, or something along those lines. That's what he was known as, the goalkeeper who made all of Brazil cry, and that is really bloody sad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a tough gig.
That being the epitaph of your career. Okay, so we're talking attendance here. The actual attendance. And what was Dougie's guess, sorry?
195.
Yeah.
195,000. Bloody hell. 211.
Chris, you've taken it again. It's 210,000, they reckon.
Come on!
That's a great guess.
You guys are doing a lot better than this than I thought you were going to.
Mate, this is right up my street, just obscure South American football trivia.
Yeah.
Come on.
Dougie, how great is it just to see fans like back in stadiums, even if it's on a micro level? I mean, some of the scenes in Budapest were amazing, but even at Wembley, just to see like a bit of noise and hear it again, how great is it to have like fans back in the ground?
Oh, it makes such a monster difference. I don't know about you guys, but I watched more football than I ever have last season during lockdown, like a ridiculous amount of football, but so much of it kind of melts into each other without fans in a stadium. Like your concentration, I think, wavers a lot more in an empty stadium. Your sort of commitment to the game wavers without fans as well. So I think the Euros, that's why I think everyone's loving the Euros. Not only is the football on display been very good, I think the refereeing's been really good. There's been some outstanding goals and stories. But fans back in the stadium just makes everything just that bit sweeter.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I don't know about you, Chris. Like, I used to think the noise was funny, the crowd noise they put in was funny, and now I never want to hear them get it wrong again. You know, when like the cheer goes up when clearly they've hit the wrong button.
When they're DJing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, are you ever going to miss the fan noise, or was that like a period of life which you're happy to sort of move beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just euphoric now when a goal goes in, isn't it? Like, I just. Yeah, brought a tear to the eye. I agree with Dukes. Like, let's just forget about that period. Yeah, nothing substantial to say on it really, other than it was shit, wasn't it? It was shit. It was pretty Let's face it.
All right, we'll move on. We'll go to the highest score in a single match. Now, like in a club game, this was out of Madagascar. It was a Madagascan title playoff in 2002, where AS Adema lost to. No, they beat SO Elemrin 149-0. I didn't want to include this because basically it was like in protest. They kept scoring own goals. They just scored own goals for the entire game.
To score 149 own goals.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out in my head. That's over 1 a minute. So the commitment to the cause is quite serious in that regard. Unsurprisingly, the coach and a lot of the players were banned for quite a long time because it was just viewed a bit of a national disgrace. But I thought we'd go for the highest international scoreline because that came in 2001 between Australia and American Samoa. You guys might have heard about this one before. I've definitely seen the video. Chris, what do you reckon the score was for that?
See, I think this used to be a challenge on one of the early FIFAs to see if you could replicate that score.
Really?
As Australia. I think it might have been maybe, I don't know, 2000. Maybe it was like one of the World Cup editions actually. Like the road to the World Cup. Who knows? Could be chatting absolute shit. I think it was 36-0.
36-0. Okay, Dougie, what are you?
I had a very similar number. Well, I had 26-0 in my head, but I don't know why. But I have seen that before. But Chris might well be right. I think it definitely ends in 6, and it's not 16.
Okay. Well, I mean, Australia's Archie Thompson scored 13, which was a record in that game. So, are you going for 26 as well, Dukes, or what
I'm going with 26. Chris actually went with 36.
Okay. Well, it was 31-0. So I think you halve the point. I think that's how it works.
What, you don't have a sudden death prepared, you amateur? Come on.
Didn't end in a 6.
It didn't end in a 6. I'm sorry. I mean, it's quite funny. I mean, American Samoa, they were troubled by passport issues, so only one member of their original 20-man squad was able to play. And they weren't able to call up their under-20 side either because they had high school exams which they had to attend. So they were forced to draft in the team, including 3 15-year-old players. And had an average age of 18, and some of the Samoan players had never played a full 90-minute game in their life before they went
like me.
Yeah, I mean, Dougie, I reckon you'd have been pulling strings up front for this American.
I don't know. I've only played 1 or 2 full 90s. I'm a 6-a-side specialist. One of which being a Soccer AM versus Football Daily, and I was struggling come the second half. So yeah, I think I've got a lot of sympathy with these South American, American Samoan even teens.
Yeah, not a lot of people I think follow up with that detail when they discuss the scoreline. They're just really condescending to American Samoa. They just assumed that was their first team and that they were shit. So I've actually learned something new there, mate. That's of course they got beat 31. They had 3 15-year-olds playing. What is going on?
Apparently Australia they rested some of their good players. They rested some of the players that had scored in a 21-0 victory over Tonga a week before. But other than that...
Not Archie Thompson. Archie Thompson bloody loved it. Absolute playground bully, mate.
It is...
Quadruple hat-trick, yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable scenes. All right, we'll go to the longest unbeaten run ever. We all think of the Arsenal unbeatables in 2003, 2004, the invincible side. And they actually went 49 consecutive games unbeaten, which spanned across 3 seasons. I think there was United that ultimately ended that. But that isn't the record. That is held by Steaua Bucharest in Romania. Chris, how long do you think they went undefeated in Divizia A during the 80s? This is just in domestic league matches. How many matches in a row do you think they went unbeaten for?
Well, Celtic went 69 games unbeaten under Brendan Rodgers. So it's got to be more than that.
Good to get that in.
It's got to be more than that. Well, I just thought, if we're going to use Arsenal as the reference point, then what about Celtic? I thought you were going to play some sort of it has to be in the top 5 leagues, and now we've gone to Steaua Bucharest. So, bloody hell. Come on, man.
Well, we've been all over the shot so far. We've been in,
We have. No, it's been far-reaching. I like it. I actually think I remember seeing this one potentially enter triple digits. In the 80s. Oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stick with my gut and go like 105.
Okay. Dougie, what are you gonna go for?
I'm gonna go 85. Yeah.
All right. Well, it lasted for 5 years.
Oh god, I'm way out.
And they went 6.5 full days of football unbeaten. If you added up every 90 minutes, which they went unbeaten, the answer is 104. So Chris,
wow.
once again, I can't believe
unnervingly close.
Yeah. So we'll just pause there. It's 4-2 to you, Chris. With 3 questions to go. So Dougie, you can still.
Oh, the pressure is on.
You can still bring it back. But yeah, Steaua Bucharest. What a side in the 80s. Who knew? I'm sure Pat or Dave, some of the older members of the squad, the team might remember. But yeah, all right.
Well, they were a pretty prominent force in Europe, weren't they? Was it? What was the manager's name? The famous manager. I shouldn't have brought it up, should I? Let's just move on.
Wasn't it Hagi's dad? Is that not right? Yanis Hagi?
Georgie Hagi.
Yeah. I don't know.
Crack on.
Yeah. Right, the longest penalty shootout. We're now going to Namibia, which should be good fun. In 2005, in the Namibian Cup, KK Palace and Civics drew 2-2, and it went to penalty kicks, where Palace prevailed 17-16 in the shootout itself. The question is though, how many kicks in total do you think was part of the longest penalty shootout ever? Dougie, you go first again on this one. How many do you reckon?
So I think that generally when penalty shootouts go for a really long time, there's very few misses in my limited experience of watching long penalty shootouts. So I'm going to go with 6 players missed, which means that there was 39 penalties. 39
penalties. All right. Chris?
Again, I'm inclined to go for a far more ambitious answer. Okay. I'm gonna go. I might even go like 10 players. I'm gonna go like 49. But also, I want to caveat this with, or not caveat it with. I want to ask you guys, what is the best penalty shootout you've ever seen on screen or in the flesh?
Oh, great question.
Remember Celtic playing Dundee United, and I think we might have won like 15-14, and Artur Boruc might have took 1 or 2 penalties, but I love it when it gets to the keepers. I absolutely love it. Like, hook me up on that stuff.
I mean, I think Man United versus Villarreal, in terms of the standard of penalties, was absolutely exceptional. And then David De Gea missing the crucial one. Was it Italy versus Germany in the 2006 World Cup semi-final as well? Was quite a good one. So yeah, I'd probably go one of those 2.
I know it sounds really basic, but one of my earliest memories is obviously that Istanbul final, and just it wasn't so much the penalties itself, it was more Jerzy Dudek's, what was it, his style in the goal, like the wavy legs that he had going on, which tranced Andriy Shevchenko.
Aren't we roughly a similar age? One of your most formative memories was in 2005.
No,
were you knocked out as a child? Did you have like a series of long concussions?
No. I think it was like the first time I really remember loving football. I remember explicitly watching the England beat Germany 5-1. I remember really watching that game. But I think I became a Liverpool fan. I mean, this is probably not something I should admit on this podcast, but I did used to support Liverpool, and now I supported Fulham. And I know it's not really the done thing in terms of.
No, you've done. I admire
come
that.
Clean.
Yeah, you're definitely treading the path. What's it? You've gone the higher road, let's say.
Yeah. Well, my dad.
Yeah, you've done a Ryan Babel.
Yeah, my dad hates football, and my mum was bullying him to hang out with me. So they sent.
And now Neil Lennon's in charge of Fulham.
If that happens,
enjoy.
If that happens, I am going to cry. But yeah, all right, Dougie, what was your answer in the end? What did you go for?
What did I say? 39, I think I said.
And Chris, you went for 49.
I think it might have been 49. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, you've won that one again. It was 48 kicks in total.
What is up? Hamill, what did you have for lunch? This is insane.
Mate, I'm in dire straits here. I've taken my hat on and off. Like, I'm so hot in this tiny little room. I don't know.
You need to have 2 hours sleep more often.
I know. I'm in delirious at the moment, so I'm just in some sort of like flow.
Dukes, do you actually like penalty shootouts? Because now I've discovered your abject hatred for extra time, which I didn't realise.
I think. I think everyone loves penalty shootouts. I just generally think extra time is incredibly boring. But the amount of people that messaged me on Friday night after Italy versus Austria being like, did you find that boring? It's like, not every time. I just generally think extra time, very little happens because most players are just absolutely bricking it for about what's to come.
All right, I'm not sure I agree, but yeah, I do respect that. Some great games. The quarterfinals so far have been the last 16 games have been off the chain so far, which is so good. Let's fingers crossed for England. I think this goes out before the England game, so we'll Mike,
don't get me to do a prediction.
My lips are sealed.
Mike's asked us not to predict anything because he want us to end up looking wrong, but we shall see.
Enough.
All right, so next one is the hardest shot ever recorded. I thought of you, Dougie, when I was writing this down because I think you've got the hardest shot at Football Daily. I think you've got the most lethal strike. I remember from the cage. But yeah,
okay.
Sporting Lisbon defender Ronnie Hebberson smashed home a free kick in 2006. But what was the speed in kilometres per hour? For context, if you remember Zlatan's goal against Anderlecht for PSG in 2016, that came in at 125 kilometres per hour, and that's the 10th hardest ever recorded. Bear in mind, I think Stephen Reid for Blackburn was like the third on this list. Chris, what do you reckon, Ronnie Hebberson? What speed do you reckon he managed to get up to in that free kick?
I remember playing at a tournament at goals when I was about 12, maybe even younger, 11, like with blokes just being like, they just needed a ringer, and I was like, yeah, I was down there. My dad worked there at the time. I was like, I'll play, and it was about -4 outside, and I got hit with what felt like the hardest shot of all time, and it perfectly left an Umbro, like, what is it, logo, yeah, just imprinted on my like thigh for like 4 days. So that was the hardest strike of all time. Is the answer to that question? My answer anyway. But I'm gonna go for around 200 kilometers, like. And that's just logic from Zlatan being 10th, right? What's 200 kilometers in miles an hour? You half it plus a quarter, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm not good with kilometers per hour.
Yeah, so that would be 125 miles an hour. Probably not. Wow. I don't know. This feels stupid.
Dougie, go on. What do you reckon?
If Zlatan was 125, I'm going to say it was 160 kilometers per hour.
That sounds more sensible, yeah.
Well, you say that. The answer was 221 kilometers per hour.
What?
God.
What is Ronnie Hebberson's thighs made of? How has he done that?
So that comes in at 137 miles per hour. Which
Did he
is
hit one of those
titanium boots?
Was it one of those balls that you buy from a garage, like an airflow ball?
No, it was, you can see it on YouTube actually. I mean, I'm pleased the goalie didn't try to save it because I think his hand would have gone clean off if he tried.
If that hits you in the face, you probably like your nose genuinely goes into your skull.
Did anyone like line up in a wall like after Ronnie Hebberson scored that like free kick? Imagine being asked to be in the wall against one of his free kicks. You'd be like, no.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I
They
want
can
to
score.
be fertile.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It doesn't even feature on his Wikipedia page either, which is a crying shame. But the longest header. We'll finish on that one. It's the final, the final question of this whirlwind of an episode. And this one comes from the Norwegian top flight. And this was in 2011. Odd BKs. I love that team name. Jona Samuelsson redirected a header towards goal. You might have seen this one probably on YouTube as well. Chris, in meters, how many meters from the goal do you think he managed to head it in?
Christ, I imagine this is like one of those ones where it's from his own box. A football pitch is
Wind assisted.
100 meters, isn't it?
Yeah.
How am I taking that long to think of that? I'm going to go for he did it. Yeah, I mean, that's in the Arctic Circle, isn't it? So It could well have been, like it could well have been apocalyptic conditions. I'm going to go from
the air is thinner up there.
From 87 meters.
87 meters. All right, Dougie, what do you think?
Well, Chris so far has pretty much always gone. I've always gone lower than Chris, and it's really backfired on these ridiculous records. So I'm going to up it. I think he scored it from 90 meters. I just don't think you can head it any further than that. But 90.
I mean, the answer's 58 meters.
Right. Okay.
I think you've both been massively
How
ambitious
anticlimactic.
to assume a bloke could head the ball from his own penalty box.
But with the wind behind it, I don't mean in one bounce.
Yeah, I mean,
it just rolls in.
There is no question that our suggestions were ridiculous, but I was just sticking with the general theme of this episode, to be perfectly frank. Like, did I think that Australia would ever be playing 3 15-year-old Samoans that had never played football? Like, no. Wow. So, you know, come on. But that's still pretty impressive. What was it?
That is very impressive.
Well within his own half. Yeah. Decent.
Yeah. No, there was basically the goalie was out of his goal, so the whole place went wild. It's quite a fun video, so check that out too. So the final score, Chris, you've taken that 7-2 across.
Absolute demolition, fully deserved.
In, the Football Daily Extra Time podcast, first ever
record off.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, those are all of our records. Let us know what you think at home about all these records. If there's one we've missed out which you think we should have included in this episode, do say. Chris, if at home they have enjoyed this Extra Time podcast, what should they be going to check out right now?
Go and check out the latest explained on Football Daily, or head on over to your Football Daily and clock the latest one-on-one.
Nice. Dougie, anything from you?
No. If you're already there to watch one-on-one on Euro Football Daily, why don't you check out the scout report that Henry wrote about who Arsenal should actually sign this summer, which went out on Monday.
Yes, that's true. Ruben Neves. Dougie and I have been debating this one, but I reckon he's the one to go for there. Once again, thank you to our sponsor, Fanteam. Make sure you enter there. You've got to be 18 plus, terms and conditions. But you can find the link in the description below. Anyway, join us again next week, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.